God, I'm sick of that intro. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the year again, Christmas time. And I figured there's no better present in the world than to give to my subscribers than by reviewing a Sonic game. So without further ado, here is my review of Sonic Colors. Okay, I'm going to stop wearing this hat now. Oh, Sonic, I can never seem to escape you. There's no doubt in my head that my Sonic reviews are without a doubt my most popular. In fact, as soon as this game was released, I already had tons of people asking me when I'm going to review it. Well, here it is. Now, when you think of Sonic in the Third Dimension, one usually thinks of something mediocre or just plain bad, and well, I certainly don't blame them. I mean, things were looking pretty sweet with Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, but then things started to go downhill with Sonic Heroes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still an okay game, but I certainly don't find it as good as the adventure titles. Then Shadow the Hedgehog came along, which was downright atrocious, and then Sonic 06 came about and showed us the Hedgehog at its absolute worst in 3D. Things started to look up with Sonic Unleashed, but even that game had its share of problems that kept it from being a great game. The Sonic stages were pretty good, but the Warhawk stages were just flat out unnecessary. I stated that if the game consisted of nothing but Sonic stages, it would probably be my favorite 3D Sonic game by far. Then, in the middle of the Sonic 4 hype, Sonic Colors was announced, taking many by surprise, including myself. And wouldn't you know, it's nothing but Unleashed-styled Sonic stages. So somebody is obviously listening to what the people want, but how much so? Well, I can say this now. This is certainly one of the best Sonic games released in years. Better than Heroes, better than Unleashed, certainly right up there with the adventure titles, probably better than Adventure 2 even. Yes, I did just say that. Sonic Colors is without a doubt one of the most lighthearted Sonic games in the series. In fact, comparing this game's plot to plots in previous 3D games would be like comparing SpongeBob SquarePants to Batman the animated series. There's no mythical beast looking to wreak havoc, there's no stupid alien race that wants to destroy the world, and there's no demonic time-traveling creature that's voiced by Dan Green. It's just your classic Sonic vs. Eggman, and I couldn't have it any other way. Dr. Eggman, apparently feeling remorse for his past misdeeds, decides to make it all up by building a gigantic amusement park that's so absurdly large it makes Disney World look like, well, whatever's smaller than Disney World.
This amusement park has been constructed entirely out of a sense of remorse for my past transgressions, and is in no way associated with any sort of evil plot or premeditated misdeeds. Liar!
Sonic, being the hero as always, doesn't believe Dr. Eggman at all and decides to see what's really going on, along with his faithful sidekick Tails. Upon getting there, they find out that Eggman is really using his amusement park as a way to capture these alien creatures known as Wisps.
Wisps?
No, wisps with a W.
Yeah, I'll just stick with aliens if that's okay with everybody.
It turns out that Wisps possess incredible energy that Eggman wants to harness and use to take over the world. Sonic and Tails decide to stop Dr. Eggman by destroying all the generators that's holding all the tiny planets together and foil whatever Dr. Eggman has up his sleeve. And that's pretty much it in terms of plot. Yeah, I'm serious, it's an incredibly simple story that for a Sonic game works pretty damn well. The story was written from the same people who wrote Mad World and Happy Tree Friends, and though I've never played Mad World or seen any episode of Happy Tree Friends, I can say now that this is some of the best writing a Sonic game has ever had. I mean, yeah, there are a few cringeworthy jokes here and there, but there are many times where I found myself cracking a smile or outright laughing at some of the things Sonic, Tails, or Dr. Eggman say.
Leaving so soon! There are no lines, and I've saved the best rides for last! At least let me stamp your hand so you can come back in!
I know you're trying to be clever with this whole amusement park pun thing, but it's just coming off lame. Just say you're going to destroy us and stop embarrassing yourself.
Curse you, Sonic! Not only do you foil my plans, but you foil my speeches as well! I work hard on them!
And yes, those are new voices you are hearing. Roger Craig Smith, better known as Chris Redfield from Resident Evil 5 and Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2, is now the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. Tails, who couldn't decide whether or not he was a 4-year-old boy or girl, is now voiced by Kate Higgins, who's done a shitload of voiceover work, none of which I've ever heard. Though I will say that she's without a doubt the best Tails voice I've ever heard, so she was definitely a good pick. The only returning voice actor is Mike Pollock as Dr. Eggman, who I'm very glad they kept. He was the best thing to come out of the 4Kids group. In fact, let's take this time to say farewell to the former voice actors. They will be forever missed.
Woohoo! Now we're talking. Bring it on. Don't you dare turn your back on me.
Find the computer room!
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald? Police!
Sonic Colors' gameplay style is largely similar to that of the Sonic Daytime stages in the HD version of Sonic Unleashed. Returning from Sonic Unleashed is the Boost feature, where Sonic can hurl through stages at incredible speeds. But this time, instead of collecting rings to fill the boost gauge, you need to collect white wisps, which are nowhere near as plentiful as rings. With that said, you won't find yourself blazing through stages nearly as often as you would in Unleashed, which to me is a positive, because like I said before, speed is nice, but if it's all you're doing, then I might as well be playing a racing game. The game supports up to 4 different controller types: the Wiimote alone, Wiimote and Nunchuck combination, Classic controller, and the GameCube controller. Personally, I prefer the GameCube controller the most, but the Wiimote Nunchuck combination isn't so bad either. So with less emphasis on speed, we have a much larger focus on platforming, obstacles, and stage gimmicks. Many obstacles from Sonic's past have made a return here, ranging from spikes, different flavors of egg bots, classic badniks, and whatever stage hazard the game throws at you. Returning from Sonic Unleashed is Sonic's ground stomp, the wall jump, and the air boost, so you no longer have to acquire upgrades to use them. They're available right from the start. Though the light speed dash is nowhere to be seen. Why did they take that move out? Because a majority of the game is from the 2D perspective, I thought this is where the spin dash would make its return, especially considering that the boost is no longer as abusable as it was in Unleashed. But no, it's still not here. Why not? There are plenty of sections in the game where I would have found the spin dash useful, so what the hell, Sonic Team? New to Sonic's arsenal of moves is his double jump. Well, okay, it's not new. He originally had it in Sonic R, and if you want to count Super Smash Bros. Brawl, then go right ahead. But anyway, by pressing the jump button a second time in midair, Sonic will add a little more height to his jump. Unfortunately, with the way Sonic handles, it's kinda unnecessary and controls a bit awkwardly. What I mean by that is that Sonic's jump overall feels a bit stiff. You can't really influence your direction in mid-air once you make a jump. I wouldn't say it's as bad as the old school Castlevania games, but it comes close. With a double jump, you can attempt to fix your positioning to make sure you don't overshoot a platform, but it can be pretty finicky. Luckily, most of the platforms are about as wide as an elephant, so it's really only a problem when you have to deal with those really tiny platforms. There's a total of 7 different locations in Sonic Colors: Tropical Resort, Sweet Mountain, Starlight Carnival, Planet Wisp, Aquarium Park, Asteroid Coaster, and Terminal Velocity. Tropical Resort is like a giant lobby, serving as a big entrance into Eggman's amusement park, though really it's one big tutorial planet letting you get used to all of Sonic's abilities. Sweet Mountain is a planet made of nothing but food. I wouldn't even begin to ask how that will work, but who knows, maybe the developers really liked Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Starlight Carnival is a world that puts Tron to shame. I'm serious, there's bright colors everywhere, look at this. Planet Wisp, as you will probably expect from the name, is the home world of the Wisps. Since Eggman hasn't fully converted it into a theme park attraction, it's still under construction, meaning there's tons of dangerous shit you need to avoid. Aquarium Park, or as I like to call it, Chunnan Underwater, has a very oriental theme, complete with crap loads of water. So you know what that means, you're gonna have to avoid the water like the plague, because Sonic can— Hey! Holy shit, Sonic can actually go underwater now? Son of a bitch, look at this, he can actually swim! Well, I guess if jumping infinitely underwater can count as swimming, but thank God, Sonic's no longer allergic to water! Asteroid Coaster is pretty much exactly how it sounds. There's a shit ton of roller coasters and asteroids. Nothing much else to say. Look, Saturn. Terminal Velocity, the final area of the game, is thankfully nowhere near as punishing as Eggman Land. In fact, there's barely any level in here at all. You're just running away from a crap load of things. I think the developers caught on that a lot of people thought Eggman Land was too long and tough, but I think they tried too hard to make it easier because the stage is practically nothing, especially its second act. The main gimmick of Sonic Colors is the little alien creatures known as Wisps. There's a total of 7 Wisps you can attain: Laser, Drill, Spike, Rocket, Cube, Hover, and Frenzy. Simply put, they're power-ups and nothing more. When you run into a Wisp capsule, you can activate its power by pressing the corresponding button on the screen. Cyan Wisp allows Sonic to use the power of the Laser, which Sonic zips through everything and destroys anything in his path. It can also be used to ricochet off walls with these diamond-shaped obstacles, allowing you to reach areas that Sonic couldn't get to by himself. The Yellow Wisp allows Sonic to turn into a drill, where he can burrow through certain types of ground and locate different sections of the stage, as well as some hidden goodies. If you ever played Nights into Dreams, then you'll know exactly how to control Sonic when using it. The Orange Wisp allows Sonic to transform into a rocket and blast off to an enormously high altitude, where he can proceed to slowly freefall his way to safety, though I really don't get how that works. I mean, can Sonic ignore gravity at will now? Whatever. The Pink Wisp allows Sonic to transform into a spiky ball. Couldn't he do that naturally? Anyway, while in this form, Sonic can cling onto any surface, allowing him to scale walls and again reach things that Sonic couldn't get to on his own. By pressing down the boost button while in this mode, Sonic can do the spin dash.
Why didn't you just give that to Sonic's natural moveset?
Moving on, the Blue Wisp allows Sonic to transform into a cube and cause blue rings to transform into solid platforms and vice versa. Out of all the Wisps, you won't be using this one that often because it's mostly situational and really only needed to get to that bunch of rings you wanted to collect because you wanted a higher score. Also, it's probably just me, but does the theme music for the Blue Wisp remind anybody else of Seinfeld?
Oh, I know the chunky that left these chunkies! Newman!
The Green Wisp allows Sonic to temporarily fly. It's almost like you're controlling Tails, only nowhere near as fast. By pressing the boost button near a trail of rings, you can perform the light speed dash.
Stop doing that!
Finally, the Purple Wisp allows Sonic to transform into a disgruntled Pac-Man that devours anything it comes into contact with. The more things you munch, the bigger it gets to the point where it starts sucking things in. During 2D sections, this Wisp is pretty fun to use, but in 3D sections, it's a pain. It controls like total ass because the thing constantly moves forward, allowing you to only slightly tilt in the direction you want to move to. It's incredibly stiff. Well, luckily, it isn't used that much, so the pain is only temporary. Overall, the Wisp are a fun addition to the gameplay. Most of the time, they're completely optional and are really only used to get to alternate paths or areas that contain hidden goodies. To me, that's how a gimmick should work. It shouldn't be something that's forced down our throats. In terms of stage progression, it's incredibly simple. After completing a stage, you're taken to the world map, in which you simply move Sonic to the next stage and bam, you're there. No unnecessary hub worlds and no metal collecting to open up new stages, thank God. When you're finished with all the stages in a certain world, you can simply select the next planet you want to go to. You're free to select any stage you've completed at any time, which is always a plus in my book with a game like this. Now, unlike Sonic Unleashed, there's no mandatory metal collecting. Instead, scattered throughout each stage are red rings that you can collect to unlock stages in Game Land, home to Eggman's Sonic Simulator. Simply put, in this world you can play in over 21 different levels accompanied by 8-bit versions of music used in other worlds. The stages are very simple in look, but it has a psychedelic feel that reminds me of the classic Sonic games, especially with the backgrounds. And if you know your classic Sonic, some of these level designs may look awfully familiar to you. There's also the special capsule that can release an Eggman head that looks like it wants to date rape me. Ew. You can also play along with a friend, so if you want to see who's the better gamer, give it a shot. You can also play as your Mii. Well, actually it's just your Mii's head on a robot Sonic's body, which is a little disheartening. But it's probably the only time you can see Chuck Norris, Captain Falcon, or Bob Ross playing a Sonic game. By finishing the third stage in each world of Game Land, you can obtain a Chaos Emerald, which is needed to unlock the final stage. No, wait, what? Why is the option satellite glowing like that? An option for Super Sonic? What does that mean?
Super Sonic!
Oh! Am I seeing things? Super Sonic playable in regular stages in a 3D Sonic game? Yes! Holy shit, if Super Sonic returning in Sonic 4 wasn't enough, Sonic Colors takes it up a notch by finally having Super Sonic playable in a 3D Sonic game. Granted, a majority of the game is 2D, but come on, this is freaking awesome. Thank you, Sonic Team, you're really showing that you're learning from past mistakes. The only problem with Super Sonic, however, is that you can't use Wisp Wall in this mode, but honestly, if I'm playing the Super Sonic, the only thing I want to do is run into everything at the speed of light. Graphically speaking, wow. If there's one thing that Sonic Team is consistent in, it's making Sonic games look absolutely beautiful, and this game is certainly no exception. If it isn't the colorful areas of Starlight Carnival that'll capture your eye, Planet Wisp section certainly will. The character models are spot on as well, and are running off the Wii's hardware. They're almost as polished as the models in the HD versions of Sonic Unleashed. The music is awesome, but then again, I was kind of expecting that since this is Sonic the Hedgehog we're talking about here. I mean, hell, Sonic 06, as horrible as it was, still had awesome music. Most of the music is incredibly upbeat and extremely catchy. In fact, I think it's better than Sonic Unleashed. Especially the final boss music, which is just absolutely incredible. Hell, I think it's better than the final boss music in Sonic 06. Yep, I just said that. Now, overall, Sonic Colors is a pretty great game, but it does have its share of problems. For one thing, the game is incredibly short and pretty damn easy. Most stages will only take you a few minutes to beat, and even less time if you use Wisp effectively. You are encouraged to revisit stages not only to collect more red rings, but to further improve your score. If that's your sort of thing, then it's no problem, but I know there's tons of people out there who wish there was a bit more to do in this game. Now, when I say it's pretty easy, I'm talking more about the boss fights. These have to be some of the easiest bosses in Sonic history, and they're even more easy when you use the power of the Wisp. Unfortunately, this also holds true to the final boss fight. While I'm glad that the game no longer runs with the Monster of the Week formula that's been overused in previous 3D games, the fight is pathetically easy. I'll leave it at that. The 3D sections are also somewhat disappointing. About 85% of the game is from the 2D perspective. When the game switches to 3D, you're either running in a straight line, drifting into a 2D section with absolutely no obstacles to get in your way, or avoiding obstacles that require you to do nothing but press left or right at the correct time. I know the 3D perspective for Sonic has been an incredibly bumpy ride, but the answer isn't to cut away from it entirely. You just have to keep trying until you get it right. Just take a look at the adventure games. Now that's how you should make Sonic perform in 3D. You know, only make it less buggy. Finally, and I brought this up a bit earlier, but the control could have been slightly better. I mean, for the most part, Sonic controls how I'd like him to, but there are occasional moments where I lose control of myself because of Sonic's stiff jump and unreliable double jump. I'm also not keen on the fact that Sonic can't change his direction in mid-air. That just screams 8-bit, and I don't know if you noticed, but we live in a time where smooth mid-air controls is mandatory in just about everything nowadays. The classic games have better mid-air control than this. Also, why can't I homing attack on Wisp capsules? You can do it in the DS version of the game. Oh right, this game was also released on the Nintendo DS. Well, you guys know that there's no way I can record DS footage unless I'm unaware of something here, so... Sonic Colors on the DS plays exactly like the Rush titles. Boosting is aplenty and the entire game is 2D. The homing attack, which was sort of already in the first two Rush titles, is now fully implemented in this game, and it works incredibly well. The trick system from the first two games is nowhere to be seen, so in order to fill up the boost gauge you need to collect white wisps, like in the console game. The wisps work like they do in the console version, but this game has two exclusive whips that aren't in the console version. the Red Wisp and the Violet Wisp. The Red Wisp turns Sonic into a fireball and allows Sonic to jump an infinite number of times, while the Violet Wisp allows Sonic to literally transform into a black hole and suck everything up. It also lets him fly. Now, while it plays like the Sonic Rush titles, I think the level design beats the shit out of those two games. The level designs are nowhere near as linear as the previous games, and there's definitely a greater focus on platforming. The bosses are still pathetically easy though, and the true final boss is such an ass pull it hurts. Overall, Sonic Colors for the DS is definitely my favorite of the Rush series, so you should definitely give it a shot. I'll go more in depth when I find a way to record DS footage, and when that time arrives, I'll also go into the Rush series in general. But going back to the console version, it's definitely one of the best Sonic games released in years. Sonic Team is finally starting to show Sonic the respect he rightfully deserves, especially because this guy had some of the best 2D platforming games in the 90s. Though the game is not everything I expect from a 3D Sonic game, it's still incredibly fun and should be in every Sonic fan's collection. Hell, even if you're not a fan of Sonic, try the game out, you might end up loving it. Great story, great gameplay, and definitely great music.
So, how about you and me make like Eggman's hairline and recede?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. With that said, I'm Johnny the Super Gamer Brothers. You guys have a great night, happy holidays, and take care.
I've had enough of your bullshit!
It's been a goal of mine for some time to go back to all of my old SGB reviews and give them the Versus treatment. This series in particular is turning 10 years old next year, and I kind of want everything under one umbrella. Now don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean I'll be deleting those videos. They still hold a ton of sentimental value to me, but 10 years is a bit of time, and I'd like to think I've grown since then, so I feel there's merit in looking at all those games with a more seasoned eye. And next on the docket of re-reviews, you could say, is Sonic Colors on the Nintendo Wii. It's close to Sonic's birthday, figured it was appropriate, so what say you? Sonic Colors was a real turning point for the Hedgehog back in 2010. Oh Jesus, this game is turning 10 this year. Woo! So, we're all very familiar with how Sonic 06 nearly killed the series, how you can argue the 15th anniversary in its entirety almost killed the series, the sole exception being Riders, the spin-off racing game, yada yada yada, turn the page please. Starting with Sonic Unleashed though, there was an honest-to-God attempt in injecting new life into the franchise. Blistering speed and beautiful HD worlds, a look and feel that wasn't too far removed from a Disney film, but it was still marred by unnecessary elements that hindered the whole package. The effort was still admirable, but Sonic Unleashed didn't soar with flying colors. Finally deciding to learn from their experiences, Sonic Team battened down the hatches and prepared to really get Sonic off of his feet. This was also around the time Sonic 4 Episode 1 was making the rounds, and we can talk about the actual quality of that later. But the fact that it was even a thing showed that Sega was trying to get back that cracked and splintered cesspool that was the Sonic fanbase, speaking as a Sonic fan just to be clear. Or, for the more cynical eye, they were probably desperate for a real hit, whatever floats your boat. But a two-dimensional return to form was only part of the equation, for Sonic's 3D outings were still the real bread and butter, despite recent outings, and they were like, okay, this was it, we can't afford any more mediocre games, this needs to do well. So, as Sonic Colors was being worked on and finalized, Sega started doing some cleanup. The most eye-catching thing was them delisting any previous Sonic games in the past 5 or so years that had a low Metacritic score. Sonic 06, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, Sonic Unleashed, yes, its Metacritic score was considered substandard, and then there were the 2 storybook games, Secret Rings and Black Knight. Silver lining though, the lead game designer of those last 2, Morio Kishimoto, was put in charge as both director and lead game designer for Sonic Colors. Well, wait, he was also the director of Sonic Lost World and Sonic Forces, so yeah, silver lining, he was still getting work at least. I remember people making a stink about the Nintendo exclusivity at the time, considering that this was the next major 3D Sonic game after Unleashed that wasn't a spin-off. The fact that it wasn't multi-platform when the other games beforehand were caught fans off guard, but you gotta understand, Sega wasn't just trying to restore the reputation, but they were still going after that money, and the Nintendo Wii was very lucrative for the franchise. Quality notwithstanding, Sonic Unleashed on the Wii made some bank. The storybook games, well, Secret Rings more so, did well enough financially, but none of
these compared to Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, which was a huge deal at that time. It wasn't a platformer like people wanted, but come on, Sonic finally going at it with his old school rival Mario, and Sonic's also getting in Super Smash Bros. Brawl? He got all those Sega fans buying a Nintendo Wii, so yeah, the Nintendo Wii had the biggest base for Sonic fans. The exclusivity made sense. So in 2010, Sonic Colors was released for the Nintendo Wii, with a handheld equivalent also being released around this time for the Nintendo DS, acting as a third Sonic Rush game, you could say, which you can catch my review of by clicking the card up top. I never remember where they are here. I put a considerable amount of time into this over the past few years. When this initially came out, I honestly thought it was one of Sonic's best games released at the time. I even had those Sonic quills that you got for pre-ordering the game for a time. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm also not missing it either. We can get into gameplay specifics in a moment, but the one thing I can always immediately compliment Sonic Colors for was filling you with this sense of wonder as soon as you boot the game up. I love this title screen. I know it may not sound like much, but I always loved Sonic running towards the player with these colorful critters following closely behind, and that magnificent orchestral piece thanks to the Amsterdam Session Orchestra. The main orchestral theme is one of my favorite pieces of music from the franchise, period, but the soundtrack totally is more like Sonic Unleashed, where it has one major symphony piece, while the rest is the high-energy varied soundtrack you might come to expect. In fact, most of the composers from Sonic Unleashed returned to score this game, and I cannot praise the work enough. This soundtrack is amazing, not just for having a good variety, but for creating a fun, lovable atmosphere. I recall back in 2010, I picked this up day one. When you start a new game and you're just thrown into it with no opening CGI intro, and I'm being like, oh shit, it's already time to start playing the game. When's the last time that happened? But then you start with Tropical Resort. It's so dazzling to the eyes, the music's so energetic. This is an amusement park that Dr. Eggman built? Get the fuck out of here. This ain't no Eggman land, but you know what? I'll take it. Sonic Colors started strong, and right away I was captivated. Let's keep this going. And after a couple of stages, the story actually begins. So, wanting to apparently make amends for his past actions, Dr. Eggman went and built an intergalactic amusement park consisting of a bunch of other planets bounded together in chains. Suspicious about the whole affair because, well, no shit, Sonic and Tails head to the park themselves to investigate. There they manage to save this little dude named Yacker and learn that Eggman has indeed been playing that bullshit card, for he's gone and kidnapped these little alien critters known as Wisps, as he wants to use them as energy sources to power up his amusement park. But the park in itself is mainly a distraction, for Eggman's real plan is to use the alien energy to power up this ginormous mind control device and have the entire world bent to his will. But thanks to the combined efforts of Sonic, Tails, and the latent power of the Wisps, giving Sonic access to skills he didn't have beforehand, Sonic ultimately comes out on top at the end, once again destroying Eggman's ambitions and his amusement park at the same time. To say that this story is radically more simple than previous outings would be an understatement. It's barely above the Genesis games in its complexity, but that was the intention. Sonic Colors wasn't just designed as a return to form, but it was also designed to cater to the younger crowd, which I know sounds a little weird when you consider the Sonic series was always designed for kids, but no, Sega was going a little younger this time, and I mean, you can see that everywhere.
The colors, children.
But it's none more obvious than the actual writing. Sonic Colors was the paradigm shift with how stories were handled in future Sonic games. This one elicits not so much a standard shonen anime like previous games, but rather a comedic Saturday morning cartoon, even more so than Unleashed. You can argue it started there with how characters like Chip and Professor Pickle were implemented, but by Sonic Colors it's at its most apparent, with mixed results. Now I will be the first to say that as far as tone and characterization, what I personally want from a Sonic game's presentation and atmosphere, this is where I think Sonic and Company fit better in. I love Sonic's brand of confidence in this. I love Tails' snark, and Eggman is still large and in charge while still having a degree of goofiness to him. But the writing itself, the interactions between characters, the jokes, whew, there's some real groaners here. And not in the so bad it's good sort of way, but like, Jesus Christ, get to the fucking point already type of groaners. There are many exchanges in this game that are sort of bogged down with the writing trying way too damn hard trying to hammer in the yucks. Some of them land. One of my favorites is when Cubot is picking up the remains of Big Boy, that big robot you fight, and he reflects that, from a robot's point of view, what he's doing is pretty gruesome. Legit, I love that moment. And I love all the Eggman PA announcements you can hear in the game. I wish they were a little clearer. They're kind of hard to hear against all the boosting and jumping, but in the slower moments, they are a great source of levity. Other times there's the setup for a good joke, the joke is delivered, but then it just keeps going, and I'm like, you had something at the start, but you lost me because you didn't know when to stop. And I know a huge part of that is because I'm not the demographic. It's really easy for me to pick apart something like that, let's be real. This wasn't really meant for someone my age, but I still feel as far as writing goes for what's essentially a kid's show, it could have been a lot better. Again, the tone that Sonic Colors invokes is personally what I like to see more of, but the substance here just frankly isn't up to snuff. Now, some might disagree with this, but can we just get Ian Flynn to write a Sonic game for once? Not to go too much into a tangent, but the IDW comics have consistently delivered good writing while remaining true to the characters and knowing when to reel it back. It's a good balance, I think. Not perfect, but much damn better than anything we've gotten in the games as of late. Yeah, well, I feel that's a whole other discussion I can save for another time, so let's just get back into the game. The intention of having Sonic Colors cater to a wider audience wasn't just for the presentation and such. It also permeates through the gameplay, from the level design to accessibility, with the option of having 4 different controller layouts. Beforehand, I used to use the GameCube controller when playing this, and if you're playing this on an original Wii, I still recommend that as the best option. But seeing as I recorded this off of my Wii U, and I can't use that Smash Bros. Adapter, I ended up going with the Nunchuck and Wiimote combination. It took some adjusting for a level or two, but it's not a bad means of control at all. And it's better than the classic controller option. I don't know why they thought putting the boost button on B and the jump on A and the slide on X for this layout was a good idea. It's so awkward. I can't play like that at all, and the single Wiimote option isn't much better, considering that even with simplified mechanics, the layout isn't the most optimal. I can commend the developers for trying to get all the options in there, but at some point, something had to give. You know, Super Mario Galaxy certainly wasn't worried about trying to fit in 4 different... Wait, hold on, that's not an app comparison. Wait. No. Okay, scratch that. God, do you remember when folks were calling Sonic Colors a Super Mario Galaxy ripoff simply because Sonic was in space, completely ignoring all the other times Sonic has been to space? You know, Mad Space predates Mario Galaxy. You can call Mario Galaxy a Mad Space ripoff. You see how ridiculous that sounds? I don't know where I'm going with this. The meat of Sonic's gameplay is more or less a continuation of the daytime formula from Sonic Unleashed. 100% less friends, and now 100% less Werehog. It's a continuous shift between 3D and 2D gameplay, though there is a higher emphasis on 2D platforming, which you might find disappointing if you're looking for something more expansive. Boosting at high speeds is once again a major focus, and now Sonic has the air boost, the stomp, and wall jump right from the start without the need for upgrades. Sonic Colors was also the game to introduce the Wisps as a gameplay mechanic. You find the appropriate capsule, and for one use you can do things like zipping in a straight line or ricocheting off diamonds with laser. You can burrow through giant cakes and swim through water with drill. Rocket allows you to gain a crazy amount of height, and then you slowly fall down and collect rings and all that. Hover is like Rocket on a hangover. You can get height, but not as much, and you gotta rely on the lightspeed dash to get some real distance. It's also the only time in the game you can do the lightspeed dash because Sonic can't do it naturally in this game. Love the music though. Cube, you make these blocks out of these blue rings and proceed along. Maybe there's a puzzle here and there for a red ring. It's the least interesting power-up. You're not even invincible when you're doing the switch. Not very good. Spike allows Sonic to spin up walls and ceilings like the Spider Ball from Metroid. It's also the only time you can do the classic spin dash, which again, find very odd. You give it significance to power-ups by taking away something Sonic had naturally beforehand. But finally, there's Frenzy, which can gobble everything in its path like a pissed-off Pac-Man, but it's a little unruly. It's like it's got a mind of its own because it's so angry, but it feels clunky at times too. You have to progress with the story enough to even have access to most of these, but seeing as this game isn't very long to start, seriously, it's like 4 hours long, maybe even less so, that won't take very long. The color powers can be exhilarating to use. As power-ups, I like the things Sonic can do with them, except Cube, and getting the most out of them to finish the stage quickly can be gratifying, and they break boss battles in half with careful use, but most of their extended use falls on collecting red rings. If you're just playing the stage with the intention of getting to the goal ring, you'll find most of Sonic Color stages to be rather bite-sized, some shockingly so. Every world has 6 acts, 6 of these motherfuckers, but unlike Knuckles Chaotix, I don't think you'll go numb by the end of the world, but at the same time, you might also feel like these stages never get off the ground properly, something if you recall I gave Sonic Forces shit for. And yeah, that issue sort of exists in here too, which I think in some ways makes Sonic Forces worse because you think they learned from that by now. Well, who said that? What a fucking asshole. This is a Sonic that can do more from the get-go in a game that, looking back, doesn't really take full advantage of the moveset because game design has been simplified. You can still harness that raw speed going through a handful of sections that require you to sidestep out of harm's way or drift through a whole bunch of nothing, reacting to incoming obstacles with enough finesse, but Sonic Colors would rather you spend more time doing basic platforming, and I mean basic platforming. I'm talking the most inorganic rectangle and square platforms you haven't seen since the Game Gear games. Sonic Colors kind of struggles with maintaining a sense of flow because of the sheer amount of stop and go. Though some worlds are better than others about this, sometimes it feels the inspiration for level design in this game wasn't so much Green Hill Zone, but rather Marble Zone, and you'll be hard pressed to find a good amount of folks who can unironically call Marble Zone their favorite stage from Sonic 1, again, not judging. And the platforming itself can get a little testy because 1, the 3D controls are still not as fine-tuned as they were in the adventure games. It's about the same as it was in Sonic Unleashed, and if you recall my critiques then, Sonic has a little too much weight to his ground movement and his jumps. But to somewhat circumvent this, Sonic was given a double jump for this game, which is great for correcting positions as I expect a double jump to do, but it still has the same weight issues as Sonic's default movements. It can be hard to get a grasp on the amount of speed and height you need to get across some of these obstacles. Planet Wisp suffering from the worst of it, I feel. These sections here with the moving platforms were always a nightmare for me because the platforms are too damn small. I slip off all the time because of my speed, and sometimes I lose my footing when I accidentally use the homing attack on a close by enemy instead of the double jump because both are mapped to the same goddamn button. This is 9 years after Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic games were still fumbling with that kind of design issue. But I feel I should say that this is only a real issue if you're adamant on getting a higher score for a better rank. When you need that certain precision, it can be frustrating with how imprecise Sonic can feel. At your own pace, however, I think Sonic is fine enough. I'd still rather have adventure controls, of course. In fact, not having them here is why I don't mind if the game leans more on 2D rather than 3D, because I find it easier to handle the controls in a two-dimensional space. 3D requires more work, but I can adjust to what's needed if the game makes it comfortable enough to do so. Getting higher scores might only satiate some fulfillment though. To get the most out of a given stage, you might have to collect those red rings. There's 5 in every stage, but the hunt for them isn't as obnoxious as the rings in Sonic Advance 2, I want to say. But most do require certain wisps, and early on, you won't have access to all of them, so you'll need to make some revisits. That's encouraging replayability at the very least. I won't give the game too much shit for it, even if I think some stages by default are a little shallow. When you collect enough red rings, you unlock more stages for Eggman's Sonic Simulator. Basically, it's more of the game to play with a robot Sonic, or you can use one of your Miis. So that's some nice incentive, I think. Some stages even have layouts from Sonic 1, strangely. I was talking about Marble Zone inspired design earlier, and here you go, the Progenitor. You can even play this mode with friends, but god, you want to talk about a mode that really emphasizes the blocky and inorganic nature of Sonic Colors level design? You can't get more literal than this, and I'm not the biggest fan of the aesthetic either. It's too mundane. You complete them all though, and you unlock Super Sonic for normal gameplay. And back then, oh my god, this was so awesome because we finally had a playable Super Sonic in a 3D game that wasn't relegated to final boss encounters. You can't use color powers, but you got an unlimited boost and a higher jump. You probably won't get a good enough score because color powers are essential for those, but dashing through hordes of egg ponds never gets old. Because I know I'll get asked this, yes, if I were to compare, I'd say the daytime stages in Unleashed are of a much higher caliber than what's offered in Sonic Colors. They have greater presence, they're not so awkwardly segmented as stages can get in this game, and because of that they have a better flow and are more fulfilling. But let's remember, Sonic Unleashed was not just the daytime stages, it had these as well, and if we're talking consistency, Colors beats it by a mile. Also, Colors is just more accessible. Yes, the design was simplified, and going from Unleashed to this makes that more apparent, but Unleashed asked a lot from the player, requiring more reflexes and dexterity that was normally asked from a platformer. It made Sonic Unleashed its own beast, sure, and I know some would praise that for giving Sonic back that high-speed edge, but it was alienating for newcomers, and if we're talking about just trying to enjoy the game without ramming into spikes or falling down pit number 392, to try and make the player feel welcome so that they'll stick around and maybe buy some more games here and there, then you play Sonic Colors. Takashi Iizuka, longtime developer of Sonic games and Sonic 4 Scapegoat, would later say in interviews that Sonic Colors was made to appeal more to Mario fans. I guess because the Olympic game did so well. And yet you can certainly feel the Mario at points, and in that way, it doesn't feel very Sonic at times, but I don't know, even in 2020, I still don't know what the hell being a Sonic game even means. Sonic's gone through so many structural changes that every new release has the possibility of starting another civil war within the community. Either way, Sonic Colors, more fundamental design or not, works. And in this case, when this game was initially released, that was what mattered most, and today I think it still has worth. It has problems, both in gameplay and story, and they've gotten increasingly more obvious throughout the years, especially since we have Sonic Generations nowadays, but there's still a perfectly enjoyable platformer to be had here. It may not rock the same graphical fidelity as its predecessors, and it may be too simple in some regards, but come on, the game still looks gorgeous. I mean, for a Nintendo Wii title, this game kills it aesthetically, and as a game that was designed to be more approachable, I'd say it succeeds. I don't revisit it now as often as I did back then, but I had little issue going back, I had little issue thinking about going back. I stumbled and fell down more times than I care to admit, but I still enjoyed myself. But I mean, if I'm gonna tell you to play one game in the Boost era, it's Sonic Generations, I can't say that enough. Sonic Colors is also still only available as a Nintendo Wii title. You likely still have yours, or a Wii U even, but it's not as widely available as it once was. I would love if this game got a re-release at some point, maybe bring the frame rate to 60, give it a higher resolution, the works, you know? I find it odd that Sonic Lost World got a PC release, and Sonic Colors didn't. I don't know, maybe one day, we'll see. But I'm not exactly done with Sonic just yet. Since we're already on the Nintendo Wii, let's just give Sonic and the Black Knight another look at. I did say I was going to give all my old SGB reviews the Versus treatment, and Black Knight is on that list, as are many other games, but I think I'll save those revisits for next year. So I'll see you guys next time with Sonic and the Black Knight for the Nintendo Wii. As always, thank you all for watching. Stay safe, wash your hands, don't hog all the goddamn toilet paper. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.